Here we are kicking off season 2 of this podcast, the second year of this podcast, with a bold rebrand. Hello, this is Rachel Starr. I'm so excited to welcome you to the Bold Business Podcast. And I want to talk a little bit to my entrepreneurs about why I decided to rebrand, because I think this may be interesting to you. This may be useful. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, if you're thinking about whether your brand suits you or not for this coming year, I'm talking about this at the beginning of 2025, and it's a great time to realign, right? And to think about, okay, what represents me best and what's going to get my message out best. So there are a few reasons, several different reasons, and I'm going to try my best to mention all of them now, as to why I decided to change the name here, and the branding. The main one is that I really, really wanted to be clear what kind of person my work is really designed for. And being an activator, being an awakener, being a disruptor, I attract awakeners, activators, and disruptors, people who are here to make a big impact, people who are here to be visible, be seen. If you want to run a business that is faceless, where you are not visible, where you're hiding behind, another brand, if you're wanting to kind of quietly go about your work with a very small group of people, I may not be the mentor, coach, teacher for you. I'm the person who's going to help people to get out there, build a stage, and stand on it in the spotlight so that they can truly be seen in their gifts and their glory, so that they can truly love themselves and recognize what they're deserving of and worthy of, so that they can actually be the voice of change and get their work out there in a way that it finds their people and it makes a positive wave in the world. So if that's you, then you have come to the right place. And just calling it the Cosmic Queen Podcast didn't feel like enough. That's one thing that I do. Cosmic Queen is my baby. It's my incredible main business. And there's more things that I'm going to be doing and launching this year too. And it just felt like, if I want to tell people what I stand for and what kind of business I can help them to create, then I need to say it plainly. So here we are, the Bold Business Podcast. If you want to be bold in business, if you want to build a bold business, if you want to have a bold business, if you want to be the bold business, then, here we are. I also was thoughtful about the current censorship and suppression going on online spaces. Thoughtful because my expertise, my subject area is of the cosmic, the mystical, the magical, is a area that has been suppressed for many, many, many years in many, many, many spaces for many, many, many reasons. And I was also aware of that and thinking about how can I be smart, because I ain't going away and I ain't going to be silenced. So how can I be smart about how I can get my work out there and bring what I call the cosmic cutting edge to the mainstream, and still have it indexing on search engines, SEO, have my content be visible, go viral, be seen, because that's what I want. I want it to reach as many people as possible. And so as many people in history have done, I'm learning to speak in code. And I think you are too. We already do that on platforms. On TikTok, you already see people speak in code when they're talking about certain things, Dior bags, right? Unaliving, code. People have always spoken in code when there's something important, some information that needs to be passed on. And so by coding up my podcast a little bit, I know that it's also going to reach more people. So I'm thinking smart here, right? And a lot of you who maybe are in the same space as me, maybe healers, maybe working in wellness, will probably be learning to do that for yourselves as well. So that was definitely, it wasn't the main reason, but it was one reason that I'm changed the name. And then I want to be very clear that I work with people on all kinds of things. I call myself, I am a life coach, and I am a business coach, and I am a branding coach, and I am a confidence coach, and I am a cosmic coach, and all these things, being a manifesting generator, or someone who is just multi-talented, a multi-hyphenate, like we do so many things. And it's smart with content strategy to be more specific. So this podcast is about business, but we're going to be talking about all kinds of things. We're going to be talking about self-parenting, maybe parenting itself. We're going to be talking about relationships. We're going to be talking about confidence. We're going to be talking about emotional health. We're going to be talking about the body. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things, but through the lens of entrepreneurship and business, which I believe is one of the most incredible ways that we have in our day and age to be truly free and truly powerful, is through business, through money, through impact, through community, through getting your message out there, through connecting with people, through your work, through your art. So I'm going to read for you really quickly, and then we'll get into the episode. I want to read to you the new description that I've written for this podcast. It just hits different. I'm getting into my unapologetic, sassy Aries, North Node, Sagittarius, Midheaven, Fire Baby zone. There will be more swearing this season, so just a little warning if you've got little ears and you don't like them to hear things. I will be a little more unhinged, a little more sweary, a little more saying it like I mean it this year. And if you're like me and you're looking at what's going on around the world, especially in the US, I think we all need to kind of say it like we mean it a bit more. It's really important that we stand up in the face of fascism, patriarchy, hate. We got to be the voice, and we got to be the light, and we got to be unafraid, and we got to be bold. All right, so here's the description. This podcast is for the ones who want to do business differently, for those ready to reject the old school of business that glorifies burnout, profit at any cost, and fitting in with the boys. We know that uniqueness is our superpower, that operating in our zone of genius will lead to higher satisfaction and reward. There's a way of building a successful and satisfying business that is both authentic and purposeful. And it starts with understanding the strategies that specifically work for you. I'm here to make this powerful insight mainstream, to bring the cosmic cutting edge to the people. It's time for this information to come out of the shadows and for us to stop pretending that cosmic systems like astrology and human design don't hold the keys to our self-actualization and success. They do. You won't find any marketing bros, cookie cutter approaches or 3 guaranteed steps to success bullshit here. Because there isn't one path to success. There is only your path. And the one thing you need to be is bold. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to this community. I'm so excited to have you here. Now let's get into this dang episode. We are going to have an amazing conversation today about the lies that we are told as people, as ambitious people, as entrepreneurs, as people who want to have an impact in the world and are ready to be visible and be seen. I'm going to take you through the 5 major top lies that I hear about from my clients that I've also experienced myself, especially as someone coming from the corporate world, as someone coming from a non-entrepreneurial background who is now an entrepreneur. There is so much that we have to unlearn coming into entrepreneurship. And a lot of people never unlearn it. A lot of people still believe the lies. So if you are someone who is just so excited this year, to whatever year you're listening to this year, you are so excited to go for it, to finally stop the bullshit, to finally step into your power, to step onto the stage that you built yourself, to finally say, I'm not doing it that way. That doesn't work for me. I'm going to lean in over here and I'm ready to bet on myself. If that is you and you are on a confidence building journey to be more bold, to be more delulu, to be more assertive in building a place for yourself in the world, like this podcast episode is for you. We're going to talk about some really important things that can be very sneaky, that can really hide below the surface, the lies that we are told that unfortunately a lot of us believe. So, before we get into that, I want to share a quote. One of my favorite quotes in the world. I open up a lot of my teachings, a lot of my courses with this. You may be familiar. Maya Angelou. If you're always trying to be normal, you'll never know how amazing you can be. That's a fact. If you're always trying to be normal, you'll never know how amazing you can be. Words to live by. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to talk about how they lied to you and that you are designed for success. Now, if you know anything about my story, you know that I grew up in California. I live in the UK, but I grew up in California. I am daughter of immigrants. I was really raised to be an overachiever, and I have some people-pleasing tendencies. These are the challenges that I have had to overcome consistently on my growth path in life in order to become the confident baddie that I am now. It was not easy, right? For anyone who grows up, feeling that an A minus is not good enough, like you know what it's like. You know what it's like to be constantly feeling the need to prove yourself, to be constantly feeling the need to one up the last thing that you did, to be showing that you're smart enough, good enough, nice enough, whatever enough to be allowed a seat at the table, right? It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Firstborn daughter syndrome, like it's absolutely a thing. Um, and we made it. We made it, queen. We made it, king. We made it, royal. We made it. We're here. And now, piece by piece, we are bringing back together as Clarissa Pinkola Estes says in Women Who Run with the Wolves, we're like calling the parts of ourselves back, right? So there were a lot of lies along the way that I've been told that you've probably been told as well. And I want to share a little bit of my story and then I'll get into the list, the top five that I hear from clients and incredibly successful people in my line of work, lies that they were told that they had to get over, right? And you may listen, you may recognize some of these for yourself that you're still believing. So this is going to unlock something for you. Um, so I went to, I'm trying to think how far back to go. So basically, I ended up studying advertising and political science. I have two undergraduate degrees. And then I decided to do my master's because that was the easiest way to get abroad. And my whole life was just about getting abroad because I knew that there was something for me outside of the US. And I knew that there was something for me that I wanted to explore. I needed that adventure. So I went to London and studied there and did an internship in fashion PR there and did all kinds of things. And then found myself, after I did my master's in marketing communication, found myself in the tech world. Totally by accident. That's another story for a different time. It's hilarious. So I found myself in the tech world and I worked in tech for a good, 8 years or so. And I worked my way up to working at one of the big four as a management consultant. So I was the strategy person. I was also the management, account management, project management, whatever you want to call it, kind of person, making sure that these multinational teams ran smoothly on these massive multi-million dollar budgets, right? That was me fighting fires, kicking ass, and taking names. And I loved it. I loved parts of it, but I started to realize that the parts of it that I loved were not really enough to keep me fulfilled and satisfied in the job. And I started to explore and started to understand that like I was deeply, deeply unfulfilled, and I felt that I had lost myself in this rat race to climb the ladder, the corporate ladder. I realize, as I often say, that I was on the wrong ladder. A lot of you may have come to entrepreneurship in that way. You realize that you were on the wrong ladder, and now you have to figure out which ladder you want to be on. But through that time, there were so many lies that I was told about what I needed to do to become successful. And when you're young and you're ambitious, you don't really question what all of these older, seemingly successful partners and directors are saying to you, right? You don't question whether or not it's going to work for you. But I should have. So I was told things like, I'm too loud, right? I need to tone it down. I need to be more professional. And this is not like this is like a few times, like once or twice, right? This is not like an everyday occurrence, but I internalized that, of course. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I've got to be serious. I need to be more, kind of German about the way I go about things. I need to be more, just ask questions when addressed and all these don't interrupt people, don't ask difficult questions, don't, whatever. So there's so many things to that, but I'm too loud. There's too much personality. I'm a theater kid, by the way, so don't know how I ended up in management consultancy. It's kind of hilarious, but I was really good at my job. I was successful at what I did, but all along the way, I was told, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And every single thing they told me was basically, don't be yourself. Just don't be yourself, Rachel. You'll be fine. And it was so funny because if I actually look back on it, which I did towards the end, and I realized like actually every time I was myself, that's when I got the opportunities. That's when I got the promotions. That's when I got to do things that so many other people that were much senior than me never got to do, right? It was hilarious. Like I got to go to Cannes Lions like 3 times, essentially a paid vacation to the south of France to drink champagne all day with the likes of like, Scott Galloway and Gary V. People were like, how did you get that trip? But I'm like, I don't know. But I was myself. But I was constantly being told not to do that, right? And you may identify with some of this. I was told I have too much sway over the mood in the office. It's bad. I was told I just keep your head down and work harder, which is like the worst advice, right? The work harder advice. That is the worst. I'll summarize this in a moment. That is absolutely the worst advice in the world. I was told I need to be in the office in order to be successful. I can't be out and about. I can't be working from home. I can't be, no, you got to be sitting at the desk chained there in the office. My teams were consistently the highest performing teams. I became the go-to person in my company to parachute into projects that were failing, where I'll never forget like this one project I was parachuted into. They didn't even know what my role was going to be, right? And I come in, first meeting, I'm just observing. The client is screaming at the team, okay? And they are screaming back. Like this is the kind of situations I was sent into as a 20 something, whatever, to say, "Hey, can you like fix this?" And I did. Every single time I would turn this shit around and make it so profitable. I would have them sign all these bigger deals. The client would be loving it. They'd be loving me. They'd like, I'm not working with anyone else. The team would be so happy. They would be like, oh my God, she sees us. I reorganized the entire thing. So, how is that possible if I just, need to follow all these rules? I just needed to be myself. And I finally figured that out towards the end. I was told that juniors don't bring in clients. If you're not a director or why is my mind blanking for a moment? A partner, which is like the most senior level, then you can't bring in clients. Like that's not what you do. Um, Surprise. I actually started a whole vertical. I started the fashion and luxury team. It literally did not exist before. It had no funding. I started it. I also brought in clients by myself. And I brought in, especially there's two I'm thinking of that were totally groundbreaking, opening up new verticals for us clients. One was a luxury fashion client, the most luxury of luxury fashion that you can think of. That they found me because I was at a meeting with them like 5 years prior, and I was a junior, and they remembered me, right? Okay, so there we go. And then the second one was opening up like a property development that like we had no property development clients. Like I opened up an entire new vertical, two new verticals at my company, right? Because I broke their rules and I decided not to believe their lies, right? Last one, having a senior partner sponsor will work for you in your career. Also a lie. Also a lie. All of these things, maybe you've been told at some point and you believed it, but I'm encouraging you to not believe it and to bet on yourself, not anyone else's rules. Okay, let's get into it now. So now that you know that I know where I'm coming from and that I understand what a lot of you have been through and a lot of the absolute, just pile of poo that has been piled onto our mindset. Now I want to talk to you and kind of expose the top lies that I hear about from my clients, um, the top five, because I think that there's something about exposing this stuff to ourselves, building this awareness of what's holding us back that can really help to open up so much more confidence, so much more ease, so much more ability to say, you know what, I think I'll do this my way. And there's example after example after example, especially by women, minorities, people of color in entrepreneurship that you can look at where you see, oh my gosh, they didn't follow the rules and they were so much more successful because they didn't. I want you to learn how to be more bold. I want you to learn how to break the rules. And it starts with understanding yourself at a much deeper level. I also have to say that in this podcast, you're going to learn so many different ways that you can understand yourself deeper and you can use specific strategies that work for you and the way that you were designed. And we're going to do that through looking at astrology and human design. Astrology and human design helped me infinitely. I cannot thank these systems enough for helping me understand myself. They gave me the courage to do what I needed to do to leave corporate and go full time in my business. They gave me the courage to start my business. They gave me the courage to be visible, to pitch myself for things, to grab my seat at the table rather than hoping someone would hand it to me, right? And so this is why I'm so passionate about helping other people, especially people who are trying to exit corporate to become an entrepreneur, to use their astrology and human design. They are incredible tools. They're better than any of the personality assessment tools. Trust me, I've used them all. I use them in my corporate job all the time. This is truly specific and personalized. Okay, so top five. So the number one, and these are not necessarily in order, but the number one lie that my clients are told, and I have clients in every industry you can think of, all over the place. I've got incredible clients who are entertainers, creatives, artists. I've got clients in real estate. I've got clients who are coaches, of course, because that's my industry as well. Coaches, personal growth. I've got clients who are healers, priestesses. I've got all kinds of people that I'm working with, people who are in corporate as well. But they're all consistently told that they're too much. Where does this come from? I have a theory on that. My theory is, especially why systems like astrology and human design are so suppressed as well and laughed at, by the kind of normies out there, is because patriarchy, which is what we all live in at the moment, unfortunately, celebrates homogeneity. So we all have to be the same in order for patriarchy to be able to extract what they need from us, right? Like our energy, talent, time, all that. We have to all be the same. It cannot celebrate uniqueness. It cannot celebrate joyousness. It cannot celebrate people who stand out, et cetera, et cetera. So telling people that they're too much is one way of promising homogeneity. You all need to look the same, dress the same, be the same, work the same, live your life the same way, right? So that's the number one lie. Think about that for yourself. If you've been told that you are too much. I'm giving you a big hug right now, but also a smack in the face to remind you that that's a lie. Your muchness is what is magnetic, is what attracts attention, is what will get you seen and remembered, and what makes people know you, trust you, and like you. Number two, no one cares about your story. That's a big one. A lot of people, especially if I'm thinking, in human design, people with 6 lines, who in their profile. So if you're like a 3-6, a 6-3, a 6-2, etc. So if you have those profiles, then you are someone who is supposed to tell their story. That's part of the way that you teach. And actually, we're all supposed to tell our story. That's why I took a little bit of time today to talk about part of my story. It just resonates with people. It helps them understand where you're coming from and the fact that you know what you're talking about. And it's also interesting, right? We like to be entertained. We like to picture things. So being told that no one cares about your story and that your story is inconsequential and unimportant is a massive lie. Because humans, since the dawn of time, have learned through storytelling. So we can just cut that one off right there. Okay. If you're feeling like your story isn't dramatic enough, isn't interesting enough, isn't one of a kind enough, is too common, I just want you to stop yourself right there. Stories are how we learn. It's like how our brain figures things out and understands things, but it's also how people can feel connected and relate to you as well. Number three, they need to have all the answers before they start. So this is a major lie that you've got to have all the answers before you begin. So you've got to know exactly everything in your business plan needs to be decided before you even like post about anything, before you share any content, before you start an email list, before you sell to someone at your work, before you sell a package, whatever it is, that you've got to have all the answers. You have to know everything. This is the biggest lie that wastes the most time. That you'll get so many I see so many entrepreneurs that will be sitting on incredible offers, not telling anyone about them. It's like they're hiding their light because they think they have to know end to end exactly how everything is going to work. And that's just not how it works. I come from a tech background, right? So everything is about lean, agile development. We don't even know exactly what we're building, but damn it, we're going to start and we're going to start breaking things and figuring it out. That has been proven to be a faster way to your end goal than trying to get all your ducks in a row first before you begin. Okay. So we got to cut that one out right now. That is a total lie. And any entrepreneur will tell you the same. Of course, there are some foundational things you want to know, but you don't need to have all the answers or know all the steps. You'll never get started. Number four, they're not smart enough or qualified enough. This is a huge lie that I have to support a lot of my clients with. And it's so, I hate this one because we're so ready to believe it. Like we are so, especially if you are, from a woman or from a minority group, like you are so ready to believe that you're not smart enough because you've literally been told that your whole life. Like I was told I wasn't smart enough in school at one point, like because I wasn't getting math and stuff. And I graduated with the highest honors distinction in my master's. I graduated with a pretty good GPA. I was so close. Oh my God, I wanted to graduate with honors for my undergrad. I was straight A above 4.0 GPA, in high school and beyond. But I was told. So if I was told that I'm not smart enough, whoo, like, yeah, this is a big one, okay? People are told they're not smart enough or qualified enough. So if you're listening to this and you've been told that, especially by your family, I've met so many entrepreneurs, sadly, who are told that by their family. You're not smart enough to run a business. You're not smart enough to whatever, get investment. You're not smart enough to do what you're doing. It's a lie, okay? It's a lie. If you saw the way that a lot of these seemingly very successful, I'm just going to say it, men think or act in the boardrooms, managing multi-million dollar budgets, my goodness, queen, you would not say you're not smart enough, okay? You would be like, oh, I'm a genius, okay? I could dance circles around these people, but they have the audacity, they have the boldness, they have the confidence, and let's admit it, some entitlement that makes them believe they're smart enough to just figure it out. But you're smart enough to just figure it out too, okay? Last but not least, their brand needs to look a certain way to be taken seriously. This one, oh, this makes me like break out in a rash. So, because I fell for this one. By the way, I've fallen for all of these. So, like, let's just, be honest. So, how many of you can raise your hand, not if you're driving right now, but think that your brand has to look a certain way to be taken seriously? Who fell for that one? Hmm, hmm, hmm. I have in my in my many years at this point, almost 6 years of entrepreneurship, have seen so many brands that look so DIY, so raw, and I guess you could say real. I don't know what the word is, like be so successful. Okay. There's a reason. The Instagram era is done. My fellow millennials, please stop thinking that your grid has to be perfect. Please stop thinking that a photo shoot is your key to success. No. I will say for people who are second lines or who have a lot of Taurus or Libra energy, you will enjoy the process of visual creation, but it is not a prerequisite for success. I want you to just know that. Your enjoyment is what makes you successful. You enjoy the process of creation. I love a photo shoot. My dream is to run retreats all over the world and basically just do photo shoots with you guys and work on confidence and branding and like that to me sounds like the best vacation. I'm so ready to do that. I love a photo shoot. I love fashion. I love all these things. And it's not the photo shoot that's selling it. It's my passion and love of what I'm doing. Okay. And same for you guys. So your brand does not need to look a certain way to be taken seriously. Unless you're in oh, no, not even then. I was going to say, unless you're in like an industry, like the medical industry, and you have to look the same, but there are disruptors there too. Like there's disruptors everywhere. And it's so refreshing to people, and you actually freaking stand out if you look different. So focus on looking like yourself rather than looking a certain way. Okay. So those are the top five lies. Which ones? So what's did you, bingo? Who got bingo? Who got all of them? You're too much. No one cares about your story. You need all the answers before you begin. You're not smart enough, and your brand has to look a certain way. Who got bingo on that one? I definitely did. I've heard all these many, many times. These are the ones that all my clients, no matter their industry, face. If you can recognize and see the lie and reject it and replace it with your truth, you are fully on the path to ultimate confidence and success. You slay, and nobody can rain on that parade when you disbelieve the lies. I love you all so much. We're going to dive much deeper into more on this topic of confidence in this podcast. Go and listen to the last podcast that I did about confidence and the confidence equation, active confidence, all these things. I love you all. I can't wait for what we have coming in this podcast. So much juicy goodness. I will see you next time. Bye.